Good evening, everybody. How are you all? I'll wait a few minutes to see people. I know people have said they're coming. And this is Dominic De Souza from over the pond. Whereabouts in the USA are you?
Think of the lower lower right-hand corner, so South Carolina.
South Carolina. What's the weather like?
Right now it's gorgeous. We've had about a week of misery and overcast and clouds and just mud, and then now today is absolutely beautiful.
We've got terrible weather. We've got floods and all sorts.
Oh, wow.
It's not nice in England at this time of the year. I got to let the dog out now. I should have got my kids down to sort the dog out, shouldn't I? There you go. He does this every time I go live. I go live quite a lot on Heartazan. Hello, Wendy Maria. How are you, lovely? It's our new lady. She's a new lady with us. And if I go on to the toolbox, turn it down, I can see people what they're saying then. We should be there. I'm hoping we're there. Hi Vicky, how you doing? Yeah, we're there. And Amy. Hey Amy, how are you? So you've been on with us before. Mm-hmm. Quite a long time ago now, really. Right at the beginning, I think, when we first started-ish.
Almost a year ago, I think.
That's when we first started, yeah. So we've come quite a way from then. And
bring it up to speed. What's changed?
So we've obviously been growing our network. Mm-hmm. We've gone onto more social media, so on Pinterest and Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. We've got Instagram going really nicely. We've got shops connected to it all. Mm-hmm. I've written a book about my experience and some help in there. And we're going to be going on a telly channel next year.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
is it like a news interview?
No, it's like a QVC type shopping channel.
Okay.
I get to do a demo. They're doing cuddle beds first, so I get to do a bit of sewing on live. I've had my screen test, which was a bit nerve-wracking, but it was all right. And they have like presenters and you sell. And then they want Heartazan after that, so be able to get some of our vendors and our creatives selling their stuff. It'd be awesome. I am good, thank you, Wendy. I am really good, thank you. So I've forgotten what that question was now. Can you remember what it was? What was the do's and don'ts? Vicky's on now, and she wrote that question. What's the do's and don'ts for storytelling? But I think you should tell us a little bit about us, because we've got new people. A little bit about you, not us. What you do.
So it's funny. I've had changes as well since I think it's about a year now. In the last 4 or 5 months, I left the job that I was working with and started out with my own company, really to focus on helping a lot of small businesses, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, do more storytelling. What I found was that everybody is taught marketing, but nobody's taught storytelling. And I find that sort of funny because everybody struggles to produce content, and maybe not everybody can, but everybody can tell a story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's something that we all enjoy. We all watch shows after hours and so on, but we've never sort of been taught how to think critically through just what are the steps I need to take, what are the do's and don'ts for telling a story so that I can do more of it. The other thing that I've found is a lot of people they're uncomfortable perhaps in owning their story, and half the time it's because they aren't used to seeing it. They're just so used to living it, and they think that it's just personal and nobody really is going to care. But I almost guarantee 9 times out of 10, people do care. It does make your business more unique and more interesting, and it does humanize your brand. It gives people a way to connect with you that they never could before. So I think storytelling is wonderful. I think it solves so many different little pieces of your business. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working with branding, and from that storytelling point of view, helping people with their messaging. And from that, you can come up with things like content strategies and better websites and design, that sort of thing. So that's what I'm working with. The brand is called Dream Again. the whole goal is to help you be doing that more, to be dreaming again about your future, not dreading it.
I love that. I love your name. It's great. It's really cool.
I thank you. I do. I love it too.
Did
It's
it
one of
just
those.
come to you?
Oh, I've been thinking about something like that for a year. I knew I wanted it to have the word dream in it somehow because I felt like I'm only a kid compared to everybody else watching here, but I was refusing to let the idea that my dreams weren't possible. I was having to let them die. I had all kinds of dreams as a kid, and then I lost them along the line. And then I was listening to this one beautiful piece of music from a kids show, and the lady was saying, she ended this one line in lyrics where she's like, maybe you could dream again if you give yourself that chance. And I thought, I love that idea of being able to help small businesses dream again.
And it is a dream.
Because I was,
It starts off as a dream, definitely.
for sure. I love this phrase, dreamers make the future. Because they're the ones who got there first, right?
Yeah.
So what you get is this sense of excitement again. And nobody started a business without an idea that got them excited, right? So it's not about daydreaming and, not being productive and proactive, but it's about actually getting back into your why, you're important, not just what you do and what you want to contribute. What your business is doing beyond just a service. There's something a little bigger happening. Maybe it's not going to change the world. It could change your world or somebody's world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we've got Vicky and Amanda and Di's joined us as well. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. So we're crafters, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us have chronic illnesses, or we're retired, or we've got little kids at home and we're doing a business around that, and we want to give back to society, have a job, have some self-worth and all that. So we've all got our dreams and our ideas and our plans, and it's about telling everybody them in the right way, isn't it? Is there a right way, or is there a wrong way? I don't know. You tell us.
Right way or wrong way for what? Sorry.
The storytelling, for telling our message.
It's a great question. I think the short answer is no, there isn't really a wrong way. They can be done all kinds of ways. But that being said, it's kind of like driving. Is there a right or wrong way to drive? Well, once you learn the rules, then you can do anything you like. So same sort of thing with this story. I remember I was watching this short interview with somebody just a week and a half ago, and he was ranting about this. What was it? It was a roller coaster. And the owner of the roller coaster was saying, I have created this beautiful story. It's like, no, you made a fantastic ride. It's a wonderful experience. It's not a story. Because a story it's a very concrete thing. It's a very concrete idea. It can be done in all kinds of different ways. But if you want to call it a story or you want to do that thing, it's like making a pot or a bridge. You have to learn just the basics that go into doing that. Then you can go make any kind of pot you want or any kind of bridge you want. It's the same sort of thing. I think to answer then your question, like what might be the do's and don'ts of telling a story?
That was Vicky.
It could be great question, Vicky. Whether it's in your email, you could be putting a short story going in your email, or if you're on social is such a brilliant place for stories, and I think that's really one of the best pieces of content or ways to communicate with people is by sharing stories on social. It's why we show up a lot. On your website, if you're doing, like an article or a blog or something, you'll use them all over the place. So I think very simply, when you're telling a story, expect it to be short. Expect it to have a point, or really it should have a point. Because when you're sitting around a campfire with friends, or you're out having drinks, a night out, there's a common context. We all understand who's there. We sort of know the backstory behind people who are showing up. So the stories don't have to be very carefully constructed and written out. We can just sort of say them however we like because we all get each other. But for most of us, when you're doing brand storytelling, it's a bit different. Because there isn't that common context. If people are showing up new online or they're still getting to know you, they're still... they don't have that connection with you as clearly as you do with your deep friends. So that's why you need certain points to be addressed in a story. The most important thing is it has to have a point. If you're going to tell a story, it just can't just be like for the fun of it. There has to be some sort of a takeaway, because you're asking for people to give you their time and their attention. So you have to give them then something. And then make the story as fun and fantastic, or as realistic and emotional and heart-wrenching or exciting, but it has to leave you somewhere. It could even be 2 or 3 sentences, but there should be an idea that comes from it. I think a lot of people they struggle with doing that, thinking, well, if I have to be ending or going somewhere with my story, am I a new Aesop? Am I telling a morality tale? Is anybody going to want to listen to that? And that is a great, question. And I think the way to turn that around is, don't try to preach a moral, maybe. Don't think of it as that. Think of it as sharing your message. You have a message to share. Or within this story, there is some sort of short message or idea to take from that. Right? So that is one of the most important points, is your story should have a point. It should be illustrating an idea that you leave with people. Right? So those are 2 things, maybe. They've got to be short, and it's got to have a point. Once you get to the end, don't drag it on. You get to the end of your story, make it a nice, clean end. Because it's a short story, it's basically going to end once that idea has been communicated. Where you're going to spend the bulk of your time is in the beginning. And usually there's going to be some sort of a conflict. There's some sort of a problem that's happening. Or it's just explaining what's going on, helping you understand who the person is that's going through this experience, because usually it's about people. Yeah. Who they are, and then why this sort of story matters to them. So there you go. There's a couple of do's and don'ts for storytelling.
So with us, we're obviously crafting, and we've made these beautiful items. We want people to buy them. Mm-hmm. So how would we bring that into our storytelling without? Jules says it a lot about it, doesn't she? About having the human conversation to sell and not to be too salesy. How do you do that?
I think it has to do with where you're using the stories. Mm-hmm. So, given that you're a shop, by the time somebody is browsing your products, they're likely already they like what they see, and maybe they're at the point where they don't need a lot more convincing. Right. So stories bookend the sales process, which happens in the middle. Right? So stories are for before, to sort of inspire you and show you these are the kinds of people, maybe, who love this product. Here's what they're doing with them. Here's the kind of things that are happening in their lives. Here's how they feel about them. Right. Then there's the sort of the sales process, which you're already doing. But then there's afterwards, which is basically the same as the first. Here's what people are doing who've bought them. Now that you bought, you're probably part of it too. Yeah. Invite them to share their story, what they're doing with it.
My boy.
Mm-hmm. So stuff like your email list or social, that's like largely where you're going to be sharing stories, because it's about creating community. Right? If you think of it like this, people like us tell certain kinds of stories. And almost every one of the different stores within your community, they're all bonded to the same basic idea that makes up the artisan community. But then each one of them is slightly different. They have a slightly different experience, slightly different reason for doing what they do, perhaps, may want something slightly different out of their own future. And the kinds of people that they're going to be selling to, the kinds of people that they really create amazing connections with, each store is maybe slightly different. And that's what the storytelling is all about. It's like creating content to create conversations with those people, to keep that going. So that you're not just, creating coupons all the time.
Yeah, and I think we're good at sharing of why we're doing what we're doing and spreading our story around, but there's only so much you can do with that, isn't there? You get to a point where everyone knows what you're doing and knows who you are. So I think then it's difficult to find the content to keep that sort of relationship up with your customers going, I suppose.
Well, so you mean each individual store or artisan in general?
No, each, like Di who's watching, or Vicky who's watching, or Amy. Amy says, It was through watching your last live with us, Dominic, I learned not to be so embarrassed of my story. Oh, that's so cool.
Wonderful.
And Vicky says that she has an email list, but she never uses it.
Mm-hmm. I think a good thing to consider with a lot of this, and I'm completely in the same boat in that I'm trying to build up a list, and I've had lists for other projects and so on, and what do I say to them? You have to, again, if you recall that a story is fantastic because it creates a community, right? Storytelling is something that is not something you do in an empty room, right? A story is something that is looking for a response. It's something you tell to a group or to another person because you want to be friends with them. And then let's say you both really like what you're doing. Well, you want that story to keep going. It's like watching a TV show you like. Once you fall in love with the characters and why they exist and what motivates them, you just want to keep watching it over and over again. When it's done, you go back and watch the whole thing again, right? And then you meet other fans. I mean, that's why Comic-Con exists, right? You meet other fans of that show. You feel an instant connection to them. Like, we both, our hearts are in the same place because we both love this third thing. So that's what storytelling can do with your brand. Now, the question is, it's not for everybody. Not everybody likes to tell stories. For some people, they're just very private, and it just doesn't work for them. Some people like to do it perhaps in writing. Some people like to do it over video or interviews. So there's a variety of different ways to do this. But then it also comes back to you and your brand. Is it going to work for you? Is a really important question you have to address, because storytelling is something that is, because it's so deep, deeply human. It's not just like a tactic you can do, like, oh, I'm just going to try advertising for a couple of months, or I'm just going to try, let's just try TikTok, right? Let's see what this does for me. Storytelling is, because it's so much deeper, it is a kind of commitment to letting people know you and allowing other people, when they share their stories, right, to get to know each other. So your brand stops being just an opportunity to sell something. Mm-hmm. It becomes an experience around an idea that you're not in charge of anymore. You're helping other people see more clearly. And maybe your products are a way for people to make a commitment to that idea, but you're helping to give them a voice. So that's why most brands today, I just read this stat the other day, something like it's been, 30 years or so that small businesses have just exploded and are really taking off and so on. But in that time, they are 200% more likely to be bland and identical to everybody else. Right? Yeah. With all of the new businesses being created, we're not seeing more and more difference and distinction and uniqueness. We're actually seeing more and more blandness. Everybody's being more like everybody else. And there's a reason for that. It's because, we see it's working with somebody else, and then 10 of us are going to copy what we see is working. So making a commitment to find something unique about your brand, to stand up for an idea, or to call attention to something, and it doesn't even have to be yours. You could be helping another idea or another cause or another thing that has value from cultural issues, social issues, family or personal issues, and there are a billion of them. It could be something that you deeply just believe in, and therefore part of your story is, well, why? Why does it matter to you? And you share that. You're then not just selling a shawl or something. It's like, I'm doing this because it's giving me some financial freedom, which allows me maybe to do this thing that I believe in. And I never thought about telling others about it. But that's why this is important to me. And then you invite people. If you also believe what I believe, why is it important to you? Come and share your story. You're now creating a platform for other people to start being recognized, to start sharing why things are important to them. And then this is something that we're seeing across the marketing culture, where people are tired of just buying stuff, just buying anything. If they have a chance to make their money mean something, for them also, I want to be seen as a good person, as a likable person, and I contribute to good business, smart business, but good business. Um, People are choosing that kind of thing more frequently. So I think there's a reason why we have a lot of certain brands and we don't have loyalty to the kiosk at the mall, because it's a pop-up. It's there. It just sells phone cases. The guy offers nothing beyond just the quick experience of selling a service, and then he's done. And again, you could be selling a pen, and that's all you sell. Maybe you don't need to do anything more. But if you do want to do something more meaningful, then story is a fantastic way to be creating connections with people.
So you can start telling people your stories. Like on Heartisan, we encourage going live. And we do, in fact, on one of our groups this week, we've got a live, and it's in a safe, secure place, and people can just jump on and tell them their story, and that's how we start it. So then we can do that on some certain platforms, and like you said, you can do that in email. You can add your videos into email if you want to, can't you? I don't know. I've never done that. I don't know whether I should do some of that, because you could put your links in there, couldn't you?
Well, then email, yeah. Email is still one of the best ways of communicating with people, because it's not, going to get buried in an algorithm. If something happens on Facebook, like it's happening now. There's Google censoring so many different websites, and it's pulling YouTube accounts it doesn't agree with, and so on. So
We lost our Twitter one.
Oh, really?
Mm.
If that was your community, then you've lost that. You don't have that connection to people. But if you get their email, there's all kinds of ways that you can still communicate with them. So that's one of the strong reasons for always prioritizing, always get emails. And then very carefully think about how you're going to communicate or how you're going to use that. It's just normal, I think, for a lot of us to sign up for coupons and discounts and deals and so on from the brands that we really like.
I mean, I have an email list. I don't think many of the crafters do. I know Vicky said she did. Whoever's watching, let me know if you've got an email list. I don't think people do it. I don't think crafters do it as much as we should. So we've got 5 of us on here, or 5 of them. And I know Vicky has. Amy, do you have an email list? Di? Vicky Christian? Wendy? Amy, I said, didn't I? Yeah, so I think that's something that we probably, I reckon we struggle with that, because I think I do a little bit, actually.
Well, Heartisan itself it's a community creator, right? I mean, does Heartisan itself have a mailing list?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that's probably an okay thing. Not everybody needs to be, you would create your own community, for example, or your own group of people, if you're trying to help your own business stand on its own legs. Or if something you're standing for or something that you're doing is so exciting and different and there's lots to talk about, then you would want to be putting that kind of effort into it. But from what I'm understanding with Heartisan, if everybody is pooling together the stories and the value into one email list, then you don't need to do that so much, for yourself. You still can. I think that if you do, and this sort of comes back to your other question of, what do I share on different social networks or something? It's a really good question for email, and it's one that I also grapple with my own business. I think that if you make the shift of don't be selling all the time, unless that's why people sign up for your list. Like if you visit your website and there's I have a monthly coupon, or I have a weekly coupon, or whatever, or I have a seasonal holiday specials, sign up for that. Then people have a very clear idea of here's why I'm giving you my email. Right? If you don't have that kind of clarity for why people should give you their email, then you're going to struggle about what to send them, and they're also going to struggle to be convinced. Why should I give you my email? If it's just like, sign up for news and updates, well, I don't know what that means, so it's kind of like having $5 in your hand. Yeah. So if it's more like, sign up for news and updates about how I am doing this thing, that is a lot clearer. You'll probably get a lot more signups that way. If you focus more on something that I see, because I worked with a company that did a lot of marketing, and they were constantly trying to create articles for their clients. So they would do things like keyword research, and they would study algorithms, and it's got to have this many headlines, and you got to put 5 pictures in it, and try to do that once a week. I hate that kind of thing. It's just, it ends up being so impersonal, and it's really more for the algorithm than actually for people. So that's obviously you can be doing that kind of thing in a human way, in an exciting way. You can actually be creating content that is very valuable, but it gets to a point where 50 other companies have already written that content. So you really have to ask yourself, how am I writing this in a way that is actually interesting and different and valuable? You can do that by taking an idea and then making it yours through how you communicate, which is going to be different to the other businesses. Maybe adding in your stories, your experiences to that idea. But it will probably get to a point where there's only so many different ways you can stitch something, or you can create a shawl without basically creating tutorials, right? So if you're doing that kind of thing, or you feel like, I want to be creating content, but I don't know what to do that's interesting and different.
That's it.
Then focus on storytelling, because only you can tell the stories that you've experienced, and that the people who are engaging with you are willing to share with you. So you can craft your own stories, and maybe there's like 6 different kinds of stories that that you can tell. One of those is going to be your client stories, because once you get a good review, and especially if it's a really nice review, or you started to build a little relationship with that person, you can go back and ask them, no pressure, but I would love to invite you to share your story. What's your background? I'm really fascinated by this thing that you lived through. Would you mind sharing that? And maybe send through a photo of you maybe wearing the product or the shawl or whatever. And I'll put this on my blog.
I did something similar.
Mm-hmm.
When it's Autism Awareness Week, I asked some of my customers, nothing to do with my products, but I asked some of my customers if they share their story with how their young child got diagnosed and how they felt with it, and I created blogs out of that. So I did do that, but I haven't done anything since. That was last year.
What kind of reaction have you had to that?
I had some really good comments. I shared them all over the place, and it is just started a little bit, oh, actually, I'm the same as that. Mm-hmm. I've got a child like that. That's something that I struggle with, that sort of thing. But I really need to do more of that, don't I?
It's a fantastic way to... I mean, reviews are held up as social proof.
I have got
but a lot of times reviews are simply like, wonderful store, fast shipping, lovely person. And really you want to hear something more exciting, more interesting. There was a company I worked with a couple of years back. They were a private correspondence school, and they had a magazine they put out every month. And the centerfold of that magazine was something called the Featured Family. And they would take one family from their global community of families and highlight them with photos, with, what is your background. They didn't actually talk a lot about the product, about the books and the curriculum and so on. They've spent a lot of time talking about what is the unique situation that you're in, how did you two meet, what are your kids like, what are they excited about doing with their futures, and how has our program helped you achieve all of that, right? And out of all the other things in that magazine, it had like a little kids corner, it had a letter from the principal, it had, a showcase from a particular department. That centerfold was the most exciting thing every month that the families loved to look forward to, because it humanized the product. It humanized the experience of, I'm not just buying a stack of books and a curriculum. I'm not just buying a shawl. I'm not just buying a product. I'm buying into something I believe, into a community of other people that I can maybe connect with. At the very least, I can learn about. Because I think a lot of us, privately, feel like we're weird. We're different. Everybody else is normal. So you get to know them, right? And especially if you're a heart-centered group, then you're different. And it's very hard to actually find other people who feel and think like you do. Well, I'm convinced that most people are like that, and most people are hiding under a mask because they want to be seen as normal and popular. So when you give them an outlet, when you give them an opportunity to see that they're not weird, they're not strange, they're not different, they are normal, and they can be liked and appreciated, and they can share. It's like I think it was Oprah who said everybody loves to be seen, heard, and understood.
I love that. That's so cool.
So when you stand up with your brand and you do that, and then you tell the stories, here's other people who are just like you who are doing this. Well, one, you're creating a community, or as I like to think, you're creating a tribe. You're creating social proof, and it's free advertising, right? Because you share somebody's story, they're probably going to share it with their friends. Look, I was featured on this website.
Oh, they will.
Come and read. And so that's free advertising, right? From somebody who absolutely loves what you do or loves the experience that you gave them.
But that should go on your website and our website.
Absolutely. Yeah. If Hardizan as a group, so here's something, it's actually kind of like Etsy, something I was thinking about. I think they already do. It's like Etsy, or what was the other one? Shopify. I don't know if they still have it, but when I last visited the front page of Shopify, and Etsy does this too, they say, here's what we do, click to start your experience, whatever. But then they have stories going down. Big pictures. Look at what Matilda from Detroit has done with her life. Because she has a Shopify store, look at the freedom she's now able to do.
Yeah.
Your own community of Hardizan participants, each one of you have a story. And if you're looking to keep growing the community and inviting other people, then you really do want to be sharing your stories in a showcase so that people can start finding out who's there. Once you've done that story, it then should go on your own individual websites so that you now have something to connect with your own visitors.
Yeah.
And then if each one of you are also asking, after you've shipped out the product, you're like, I would love to not just get a review, but I'd love to get your feedback on the experience of unboxing your gift or whatever. But I'd also love to know what your background is. And just do it from a personal level. Don't be asking for anything to go somewhere. You can ask for feedback and say, I'd love you to share your opinion of the product and so on as a review. And then based on that, if somebody gushes, that is a prime indicator. This person really likes what's happening here. Maybe they read my story. Let me reach out to that person and ask them, what's more of your background? Start creating that personal connection. What's your background? What brought you to the store? I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. And then if they come back and start sharing, sometimes people don't respond. Sometimes people gush back and like, oh wow, somebody notices me, how fun. I love the fact that you connected with this one thing I said. I also, and then you can then say, well, what you're sharing is it's exciting. And it matches who I am. And the kind of people that love my store, would you like to share, or would you mind sharing your story as an article on my blog? I'd love to showcase you. Right? Again, always leave them the freedom to say no. Some people may be like, oh, I don't know, I don't feel right. And you're like, oh, it's totally fine. If you'd ever love to, I would love to showcase that. Please stay on my list because I'm going to be sharing the stories of other people. And then maybe a couple months later, they read a couple of stories. All right, maybe I'll share my story now. Help them build that confidence.
Yeah, and for the crafters that we've got, if they haven't got their websites, there's a lot of them haven't. That's why they use Hardizan. They can be doing the same thing on their social medias instead, can't they?
Exactly. And almost any social account that you're doing will have an articles feature, like Facebook has that. You can create not just a post, but like a full-blown article where you can have all kinds of, you can put pictures in it and so on. If you're on LinkedIn, your profile has an articles feature as well.
I'm not sure if LinkedIn's quite big with crafters. I know there's a few of us on there, but I think that's a really good place to be.
LinkedIn? I don't know. It depends. LinkedIn, I think. LinkedIn is a place to connect with the people who can connect you with your audience. I think that the kinds of people right now who are really active on LinkedIn are either looking for partners for their own businesses, not so much sales, not so much the one-off, people who really invest their time in LinkedIn and are good to follow are usually looking for partners. This guy had this, I interviewed him a couple of months back, and he said, LinkedIn is like Tinder, basically. Nobody says it, but everybody absolutely knows why you're there and why you're investing time. It's because you're looking for a business relationship. You're looking to see who can you trust and see them demonstrate that they're worth, following, they're valuable,
Maybe good for artisan more than the individual crafter then.
Artisan itself might be interesting to follow, to cultivate that, to find other people wanting to join your community as businesses to sell. Mm-hmm. Probably not the end user who wants to buy.
Yeah.
My opinion. I think Instagram, it would be, it's great that you've got that going. For probably most of your crafters, I'm going to assume if you're creating a physical product, then you can probably go visual. In the sense, you can probably take photos of it. You can put it in nice places. You can, especially if you can, ask for photos of people using it or where they're decorating with it or wearing it or something.
Lifestyle.
You really want those on your Instagram.
I think crafters need to use a lot more lifestyle pictures because they tell a story in itself.
It's true. That's true. Also, Instagram has a very nice feature. You can put relatively long-form content. You can put a story or like an article in the description of your picture, and you can do that on Facebook too. So maybe think of maybe you'll share 1 or 2 pictures a week, or one picture a week, and maybe 1 week out of the month is story time, and it could be here's something special that happened to me. Or here's some of the story behind this particular product that I use. Here's why I choose it. Here's why it's wonderful. Maybe here's somebody who bought it recently. They tagged me. I'm going to share it with them. This is this person, and here's why they love the product and what they're doing with their life. Again, with stories for your community. Be careful not to make it about you and not about selling, but really about what is interesting about this person's story. And then it's just the fact that your product helped them achieve something wonderful with their life, or even fix one little thing that helped them keep doing what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that story time monthly or something. That's really cool. I'm just going to have a quick look at what people are saying. They're saying that they don't have email lists. I think you should get them, guys. Vicky has about 30 on her list. Most of them are not in the UK. And I don't ship outside the UK. Shall I remove them? I don't think so.
Oh, I wouldn't think so, no. I mean, the only people... I think with an email list, you wouldn't remove people. You just clarify what that list is going to do for them and then give them the opportunity to opt out. It may be that they're hanging around because they love what you're doing and they can't wait until you do ship. And so they just want to be notified when that magical time does happen.
Yeah, and we evolve as businesses, so we do grow.
Yeah. Again, I think don't feel pressured. Don't feel pressured to start something maybe you're not ready for yet. I'm a big proponent of if you don't believe in it yet, don't do it. Especially if you're more an introverted kind of person. Hey there. If you're more of
double trouble. Off you go.
Don't push it, right? Don't force yourself into doing something you're not ready for yet. I think a lot of introverts they feel like they have to wait until it's the right time, or if you're like me, you have to be able to see or understand what is the special thing that I'm going to be doing with this network. Like, why should somebody follow me on Instagram, for example, as well as Facebook? What am I going to do differently? Or maybe what's something I can do that's going to excite me and my followers? And until maybe you figure that out, keep mulling over, keep meditating, So with your email list, from what I'm understanding, Chrissy, I think that Hardizan has its own email list. Yes. People may like to sign up to that, and then all the different brands that you're working with are tapping into that community. So if you're not ready to start your email list yet, or you haven't figured out your story yet, or what makes your brand special, that's bigger than just the product that you're selling, you may not need to do that. Hardizan may be the big, beautiful idea that all of your products are helping to make.
Lots of thoughts going around my head now.
You know? So the email list that you're creating is the valuable thing, and they're all tapping into that community that you're creating, together. So
That's fine. Amy says Amy hand makes beautiful dream catchers. She puts them in the moonlight. It's all very authentic. She's amazing.
nice.
And she said she has a fable that goes with that, and it's her key selling point. Although it's a short story, I use it to tell parents. It's a nice bedtime story when they're short of time, but also, as far as I'm aware, I'm the only person that does this. And I think that's absolutely right, Amy, and I think you could do so much with email.
That's a very unique, it's a very different thing to do. So Amy, I'm curious, I don't know if she can respond, but is every story different? Are they ones that she creates, or she's retelling tribal myths, or
I think she's telling a fable, retelling one, but I've spoke to Amy because I have another package above this one, a one-to-one one. I said she should create some little actual stories to send them out. We're going to talk about it more in the new year. She hasn't got a mailing list, but she's going to start one next year. Mm-hmm. I think she could do so much because it's fascinating, and I know my children and my friends' children really find it fascinating, and all the crafters find it really fascinating exactly what she does.
Well, certainly for that, if you're already creating content stories, basically, apart from associating them or providing them with the product, with the dream catchers, you could also, those could be things that you send out to people on your mailing list. And then, towards the end, you could say, this story is associated with this dream catcher. So you could do something like once a month, or what could be actually fun to do for if you wanted to build up a mailing list. And again, the reason you build up a mailing list is so that you have a community you can access that you want to talk to whenever you want, right? Later on. So as opposed to, for example, Facebook or Instagram, you may not be able to reach everybody whenever you want because of the algorithm. And you have to throw a bucket of, ad money or boosting something so that everybody sees it, and even then it still doesn't. If you want to be able to reach everybody, that's what an emailing list is for. So right now you may not have an absolutely clear reason for that. Maybe down the line you might. So it's always good to think about to start. If you are creating that kind of content, that is the kind of thing that you could be sending out. You could do something like, I have 12 stories, that maybe I use regularly with my products. If you sign up, what I'll do is once a week for 12 weeks, I'll send you one of the different stories that I'm using. It's also an opportunity to do a little bit of advertising because you can include a link to Dreamcatcher, and then after that, then it's like maybe I'll send you an update of things that I'm up to, or just let it sit. And that is what people gave their email address for. A very clear idea.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. What else have we got?
I think, with Hardizan, what I would recommend doing is, roundtable for a month, give people a chance to think about what is my story, why do I love Hardizan, what does it enable me to do? Maybe it's not changing my life, but maybe it's adding something to my life that I love. Well, dig into that. Why is that? Maybe write it up and then share that. Who were you? What was your background? Why is Hardizan meaningful, and so on. It would be wonderful to get all the stories of each of the different people who are sharing. And not everybody will, not everyone's comfortable with that. But for those who do, put those stories together online somewhere. If there's a Hardizan website, you can post them as a post.
Oh, we got frozen. Oh, it's getting so interesting. I think we might have lost our connection. Oh, no, we got you. Yeah. You just froze a little bit, Dominic. That was all.
Okay.
You're back now.
Would you like me to recap?
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Okay. Just that you're sitting on a bank of stories of human experiences that are interesting, that are exciting. So package those together as, little short articles. You now have an online showcase that any visitor to the website can start to read. But then you could also let people know, sign up, and what we'll do is we'll send you, once a week, we'll send you a story. And
Inspiring.
with that story, here's the person who's done this, whatever, this is what they're doing with Hardizan, and here's a link to their shop. And maybe here's a featured product, you know. Because once you get to know their story, that's the thing about meaning-based or heart-centered businesses. You don't just want to give people an opportunity to buy from you. You want them to buy into you. And I think that is, Hardizan has a beautiful edge in that you're not just selling artisanal crafts and whatever. You're selling the heart. You're selling an experience around why these things are being created in the first place. So focus on that. Focus on the stories being created by that you're already making. And that will make it easier for you to keep telling others.
That is brilliant. I'm going to work on that. Vicky said, I recently found out that my resin and mica powders are vegan friendly and cruelty free. So Vicky makes jewelry and she uses resin, and it's beautiful stuff she does. So there's a story there, vegan friendly, cruelty free. So I'm going to start sharing that to my customers. Never thought to investigate that aspect before. Absolutely, Vicky. Cool. I
think an additional story in there, Vicky, is going to be why that matters to you. You know, why is it important for you for something to be vegan and cruelty-free? Maybe something happened when you were a child, or it's just something you've grown to believe, but usually it's because things have happened, or you've seen something, or you heard something that impacted you. Share that. People really, we all really like to know the reasons why people do things, or why things matter to them, because maybe they're going to be our reasons too, and that's how you make friends.
Yeah. Go. Vicky again, I think I tried hard with my previous newsletters by trying to find content when really you don't need it to be too big. No, you don't need it to be too big. Like you said, little short stories.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of big, that is also something to consider. You don't need or really want a huge mailing list. You really actually want a small one, right? You could have 10,000 people on your mailing list and then only 2% of them open. So if you're paying for all of that, that is a ton of wasted effort. Much more valuable to have 100 people on your mailing list and 96% of those open that up every time and actually read and actually want to be there. So if you're building lists, the one thing to never be afraid of is unsubscribes. It's actually a really good thing. Unsubscribes just means I'm not in that headspace, I need to be somewhere else, and as far as you're concerned, that is great. It's maybe freeing up some of your budget to be able to focus on people who do want to actively be on your mailing list, but that means that you're now sending emails to people who do want to be there, who like their time with you in those emails. So don't try to make it huge. It's much more valuable to have 100 people or 50 or 20 people who really want to hear from you and really enjoy hearing from you, because they're the ones who are most likely to engage with you, to leave a comment, to probably buy from you again, and to think of you when they want to gift something to somebody else, or they want to refer you to somebody else. Cultivating that small personal connection with those people is much, much more valuable than trying to go big and get thousands and thousands of people.
Absolutely, no, I totally agree. People are saying that we're weird. We're all weird here. We're all mad. One of my favourite reviews, Amy said, I ever had was there was a lady said how nicely my products are and how nice I am, and she ended the review, although she was a bit crazy. Oh, come here, you. One of my customers sent me photos of my jewellery and allowed me to post them. Oh, I saw those. There's a lady who bought... I'm going to have to let Matt go. There's a lady who bought lots of Vicky's jewellery and she was sending her photos. That's gold, that is, isn't it?
Absolutely, that's gold.
Photographs,
if you can get them. Again, the nice thing is it might be a little of a challenge to get that ball rolling if you haven't ever done it. But again, if you're creating a physical product that makes people feel a certain way or makes them look nice, or it's something that is used, almost every time you're able to photograph it or ask for a photograph, So when you mail it out, throw in a little business card maybe, or even what's even nicer, a little handwritten note. That's a lovely little touch. Saying, thank you so much, and so on, if there's anything particularly special about this product that you send out. And then invite them, share a photo and tag me on Instagram. And maybe I'll highlight that, or I will, I'll share that or repost that to my Instagram feed, right? So give them an opportunity to shine. And I think that's the one thing about everybody is we all like to be noticed, right? So if you can be the one who is stepping up and noticing other people, noticing your fans or your clients proactively, then you are likable, because we love people who like us first. It's so much harder to do the other way around, right? If you go out and you like people first, then you are seen to be likable. So give people a chance to shine. It can be like a little gallery on your store, or if you have a website. Easiest thing is, of course, an Instagram profile. But share photos, tag them, make them feel like little celebrities. Give them a little bit more of your time.
I think everyone's agreeing with you, actually. Little fan club come in. They've had some pictures from little ones with the keepsakes. That's on die. That's made sense about the email list. I just hear so many stories, scary stories about posting to other countries, and I don't know enough to expand in those areas. Amy says it's a traditional tribe fable. I was taught when I was young to make them. It was part of our teachings to story share. There you go. Vicky says a story for each unique dream catcher would be totally amazing and unique to the recipient. Absolutely.
Oh, that's if she does that. That is incredible. To be able to tell a story unique to each recipient, that's pretty incredible.
Would be really good. Really, really good. I know, darling, I won't be long. Amy, who's our dream catcher lady, I could find and write a story native related to different charms like the unicorns or the colours or the means. There's loads you could do with that, Amy. And Vicky says she's not a vegan or even a vegetarian. That's the hard bit, but lots of people are today. Mm-hmm. But have a think about why you want to do it. Hi, Jules. How you doing? And Amy says I need sort patterning the story. And the dream catchers with the story. Yeah, that's something for your future, definitely. So with Vicky, I suppose what you asked her is why that means something to her, even though she isn't vegan herself. Mm-hmm. With the things you said, have a think about.
Mm-hmm. So for that, if it doesn't carry special or specific meaning, then there may not be a story there. Or it may be that, okay, so she said something interesting. She said it doesn't mean something specific to her, but it does to perhaps the clients. Or it's just a good thing to have up because it's a good thing, So you can either, again, think about it, but it might be something to just put up like a little badge, like it's just something we do. This is just part of something that we act, as a little way to convince those kinds of people who believe that kind of thing that this is a product for them. It's like when you go shopping, you just see those badges on the product. Like, well, that's, check in my mind. I know I can trust that for that reason. It can be something as simple as that, or you can make a bigger deal out of it. If it does mean something, and if it is important to your audience, then there may be, or there usually are, stories there. Because if something is important to somebody, there's almost always a story involved. So maybe ask them. If somebody's like, oh, I love the fact that the resin is vegan, if I understood, or the product is made a certain way. I love that. Ask them why. Why is that important to you?
Because me and my daughter's vegan, so we've got her product. So you can ask me, Vicky.
Yeah. So there you go. Again, not everything is a story. Not everything has to be a story. Again, we're surrounded by stories all the time, and you don't want to be telling all of them. Not every story is appropriate for what you're doing. It may be a good one, but it might not be appropriate for you. So that's where you have to get back into what is my brand, what's important for me, what kind of person am I, what kind of people are my audience, and what are the stories that we like to hear, we like to tell. Right?
Yeah, that's been absolutely... I'm losing my voice now. It's been absolutely brilliant, clarifying everything for us. Vicky... Oh, Amy just said she could ask about your client's story about vegan journeys. And if there's any questions, we can ask them now, because I'm sure Dominic's probably had enough now. We've been going nearly an hour. It just goes so quick, doesn't it?
It's been fun. It does go fast. That's my favourite topic.
What's your plans for the future, Dominic? What have you got in the pipeline?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Well, actually, what I'm working on right now is kind of exciting.
Thank you.
After I've been so fortunate to spend time with people like you and a couple of different podcasts, and I've never committed to how powerful storytelling can be for businesses. I know that I've just loved it, and I've been looking for ways to do things about that. So what I'm working on now is a workshop to help people do storytelling. So it's something that's going to be online, maybe run for like 5 weeks, and it goes through what are the ways to think about storytelling, a lot of the stuff that we covered today, how to think about it, what are the do's and don'ts, what are the templates that I can start using to just get me going, and then how can it help my business or transform what I'm doing. Like I said, I think storytelling it's like one little thing that you do that solves a ton of problems. It helps you create content for your audience. It humanizes your brand and your audience. It brings you credibility because it's social proof. Spellbinds your audience. It makes you seem interesting and different. It gives you advertising material. Instead of creating an ad, of course you can always advertise coupons and stuff. But if you're looking for something else, story is fantastic. It's free advertising. There's probably more, but there's 7. So you do this one little thing, and it can just do so many different things for your brand. So that's what I'm working on, is getting a workshop together, and I'm toying with launching it before Christmas or maybe after, I'm not sure.
Well, if you do, give me the links and we'll pop it in here.
That sounds great. We'll do.
Yeah. So that's quite a lot of work before. We've only got 4 weeks to Christmas now.
Probably just
crazy.
Launch the idea and then I live on crazy. We're all crazy, right?
We are all crazy.
Probably for the next year, though, after Christmas.
And did you do your book? I'm sure you said you had a book. Or is that in my head wrong?
No, I got 95%, 85% done, and then had to then start my business. I was let go, and then had a choice to either
go
get hired or go create a business. And so put the book on the back shelf. What is happening though now, and it's probably a better thing, is I'm using the workshop to basically take people through the book that I've been writing, and then using that feedback, it'll be an even better book. And then turn that into an online course, and then also release that.
You're gonna have an awesome year next year.
I hope so. That's the
Watch
plan.
out for Dominic, absolutely. Everyone says thank you so much. Amy's head's spinning with her ideas after listening, and
if I can be a help to anybody, please go ahead and you can send me an email or shoot me a message on LinkedIn or here in the Facebook group.
Would you
tag me.
Details in the comments?
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Do it now. So. Do it now.
Sorry, where are the comments? On Facebook?
We're on, Artisan Toolbox and Facebook. Vicky says that's awesome, and she's looking forward to your book as well.
Yeah, I would love to. So again, if I can be a help to anybody, or if you have questions, please fire away.
And you'll come back next year, won't you, and tell us even more?
I will come back as often as you'd like me to. All right, so I'll just leave my contact details here.
Brilliant. Shush. Dogs and kids. Never be on TV with them. Or lives.
I should have been watching this chat here on Facebook.
I have been.
Thank you to everybody for watching. It was fun to answer your questions, and I wish you all the best of luck with everything.
No, thank you, because your content, what you give us, is so useful. And like everyone said, I've got loads and loads of ideas. I have as well. Thinking what? Because we want in January, we want to have a new look with Heartisan, and have a bit more of what our message is. Like our connection with people, and we're going to try and get that into the website and get that. So you've given me a lot to think about as well.
Oh, that's exciting.
Thank
Well,
you.
hey, I'd love to keep brainstorming with you. I think that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to on the workshop. It's not just like we've done here, where it's kind of like I give you maybe a whole bunch of ideas and your head is spinning. I think what will be valuable is to sort of do a half hour of sort of intensive thinking, and then we workshop the second half hour, so that after 5 weeks you walk away having actually done the stuff, the stories. You now know what you're doing. You've filled in the templates. And then you can ask your questions live, and we can talk them through. So,
I think that's awesome. We'll be signing up for sure. So I'm going to go. I've got to do another live. I've got some shops to show up on Heartisan and get my kids to bed. And what is it? It's in the afternoon for you, isn't it?
About 3 o'clock, yeah.
3 o'clock. So thanks for coming, and we will catch up with you in the new year. Oh,
Wonderful.
What they said, I feel like an hour, my head's doing a 360. It's because this is so good to get all your brains going, isn't it? Awesome. Thanks ever so much, guys, and we'll be seeing you later on Heartisan. That's these guys. Thank you, Dominic.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.